Can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yeah,
Perfect.
can see it.
So now we're switching to official meetup mode. So I'll be quick. I'll do a 3-minute intro about the group. I'm not going to bore you about the history of the group since 2017 when we discovered Amazon Lambda and fell in love with it, and we're just regular function service developers. We now define serverless as programmatic mindset for solving business problems, and we would say the serverless is state of mind and the way to focus on business value. But I know that sounds fluffy. So in simple terms, it's like triaging problems. So first, if the platform has it, you're going to use it. If the market has it, you're going to convince business to buy it. If they can change the requirements, let's do that. But if you have to build it, then own it. And so we believe that serverless is not just the tech stack, it can be, and it's not just cloud native, it can be applied to any tech stack. It's a way of thinking. This loose definition of serverless allows us to bring talks like the one we have, and 60 more you will find on a YouTube channel, youtube.serverlesstoronto.org. I'll post the link later. And then I hope you will come back to visit us again. I arranged with the Google and the book author Vietz to come on August 12th at 5 p.m. So it's going to be an hour before. He's in Amsterdam. Why this Cloud Run topic? Dominant way to build and serve AI application nowadays is through Kubernetes. And I was surprised to find out how few people in Toronto at least know that the absolutely simplest way to serve cloud native applications and containers really is Cloud Run. And Vietz is right now helping companies use LangChain and deployed open source large language models on Cloud Run. So timing is perfect for him to talk. We have nothing planned for the fall and the winter. So you're giving me ideas. Maybe we organize these mini talks, or if you have any ideas, if you present about anything, reach out to John or myself and Pankaj, and we'll pencil it in for the upcoming talks. And last but not the least, at every meetup, like half a decade now, Manning Publication is giving us free products. And if you stay at the end and do this bit.ly/SLSTO survey, you'll qualify for any of the products. They were nice also. They gave us 45% off coupon code. So if you don't qualify, if you don't win in the raffle, you can scan this code and enjoy any of their products. And now, before I give microphone to Pankaj, just quick introduction. Like, I was lucky that around a decade ago, we met at the Royal Bank of Canada. He was my lead architect, and within an hour, you will also feel fortunate to know him. And so besides consulting work that Pankaj is doing, he's launching cool startups. I know one in a VR space, another one was conversational AI, but this one impressed me because it has lots of moving parts, and he's made incredible progress thanks to AI. As an AI engineer and consultant myself, I'm fascinated how much the generative AI tools help him, not just with technology, but with business development, content creation, and marketing. So I asked him to share his journey, because I know how that both Serverless Toronto community and you guys watching on YouTube are in for a treat. So Pankaj, thank you again for agreeing to describe where and how you're using AI in Lagna 360. Please take it away. I will stop sharing now, and your co-host, so you can kick me out.
Awesome. Okay, I hope my share is working.
Yes.
Awesome. So thanks, Daniel, for that introduction. Welcome, everyone, to Serverless Toronto, although we should try and rename this to Serverless Global. That's something in the offing. It's a pleasure to be here. I just wanted to share my journey with Lagna 360. I hope you can get some takeaways from this. Now, I'm not really a public speaker, and I'm trying to keep this presentation very casual. We're not going into any kind of deep diving into any technology or anything like that, but just I want to share my experience and my journey with you guys. So the topic here is how to make AI your trusted sidekick. So essentially, a person with you, helping you, supporting you. You're the superhero. It's your startup. AI is your sidekick. So just before we begin, and I know we were already discussing this, but if you just take a moment and just reflect on yourself when you are running a startup, what are the different, how many millions and millions of different tasks you perform on a day-to-day basis? And does that become overwhelming for you? So answer is probably yes, it does. And at least from my experience, I've seen that generative AI can really help relieve a lot of that pressure or a lot of that workload. And with that, I just want to continue with what we're going to cover today. Now, just before I begin, that photo which Daniel showed of mine was generated by AI, and he put it there as a joke. That's not my photograph. But anyway, coming back to the agenda. So I want to make this presentation from the viewpoint of how I used AI from the beginning to promote this business, to develop this product. I want to go over a lot of practical examples in various areas and spaces. So we're going to be touching a lot of tools and different kind of strategies that I applied to help me accelerate this particular startup. And what we'll not focus on are AI algorithms or models. This is not a technical presentation, and we're not doing any code walkthroughs or any tutorials. This is more about sharing a journey and an experience on how it helped me. So I'll just start with a quick introduction for myself. Daniel did a brief introduction. I am a technology architect. I'm a developer, a coder. I've worked a lot. I still work a lot hands-on with code. More than 25 years in the industry. So I've worked with large enterprises. I've also worked with very small startups. I've acted as consulting CTO to certain startups. I've done project management, coding. I've even done pre-sales, enterprise architecture. And just not to date myself, but I started coding with Fortran, which was just after the punch cards. So it's way back. And coming to current era, I've also worked with virtual reality and chatbots and some of the modern technologies that we're going to be discussing today. Just as a personal hobby, I'm very passionate about astrology. I'm passionate about archaeology and ancient history. So I'm just trying to tie these things together in this particular startup. And just a very quick one about Lagna 360. It's an AI-driven astrology platform. So essentially, a user can come in, enter their usual data that they provide to an astrologer, and based on that, they get automated predictions. And also there's a chatbot where they can interact and ask questions about their horoscope. The core of the model is based on about 6 gigabytes of NASA data. This is the astronomy engine. And at this point in time, I think more than 60,000 users, and it's global user base, and it's growing pretty fast. It's growing almost like every month I have 20% more users than the previous month. So the rate of growth is pretty exciting right now. So that's what I'm pretty happy about. So why do we want to use AI for startups? So that's I just want to cover that. So for one thing, like if you are trying to run a startup, you will realize that money is always the constraint. You're cash strapped. If there was infinite money, we would not be having this conversation today. So just like everyone else, I'm also trying to operate with very, very precious dollar. Whether you want to spend it in advertising, or do you want to hire a UX designer, or do you want to hire a developer, or do you want to hire a marketer? Like, how do you want to use this money? It's always very much, you're always cash strapped when you're trying to run a startup. The other reason is that it is the current wave. Whether it's there for the long run or whether it's a fad, the reality is right now everyone is talking about AI. Just 2 weeks ago, I was at the Collision Conference in Toronto, more than 50,000 visitors and almost like 10,000 different people displaying there, different startups. Almost 60 to 70% had AI in their name somewhere or the other. So it's just to give you an idea of the scale at which people are now putting all their bets into AI. And then, of course, AI has promised a lot of things. So I was also very curious. So we want to explore if does it really live up to these promises, or is it just hype? Now, there are many types of startups you can have, and I'm just giving an example that nothing wrong with it, but you could create a lemonade stand, which you can make a lot of money if you do it right. But unfortunately, that's not one of the types of startups where I think AI can help a lot. So the focus here is SaaS, software as a service, and consumer-facing SaaS. And why I'm saying consumer-facing? Because enterprising-facing SaaS requires some kind of in-person sales. And I'm just trying to talk from the viewpoint that if you want to scale to a very large volume, something like Twitter or Facebook, where there is no in-person sales, where everything is digital, then we're talking about a consumer-facing SaaS. So that's the kind of startup that Lagna 360 is, and that's the kind of startup where these strategies and these techniques might help you. So just before we begin, I want to touch on a topic of cognitive load, because this is going to come in during the various tools and strategies. Like this is the reason why I believe we should be using AI. So by cognitive load, I mean, the name is self-suggestive. It's how much effort you're putting on your brain. Now take an example of somebody working in a warehouse, lifting boxes all day long. So that is physical load. You're carrying stuff. Now, when he has tools like a forklift, or he has some kind of a crane or some kind of other mechanical tools, he's reducing his physical load. AI, for the first time, has given us the ability to reduce our cognitive load. And this actually brings in a lot of benefits. So I'll be touching on this as we go along the different parts of this presentation. So now, I just want to set the context of all the tools that I've used. It's important that I quickly touch upon what is Lagna 360, so that you can just start to relate with my experience of how I brought in these different tools. So I will just, in the next 3 or 4 slides, quickly cover what was the inspiration, what were the development challenges, architectural challenges, marketing challenges, and then we'll dive into the different tools and strategies that were deployed. So the initial concept, it's of course my personal interest. As I mentioned, I am interested in astrology, archaeology. So I found the idea very fascinating. The seed of this idea was born during the COVID period. This was pre-GPT. So the world had not heard about AI as such at that time. It took about 6 gigabytes of data from NASA, and I started by building a planetarium software. I wanted to just simulate the motion of the stars and the planets. So I can share that link with you. There is an offshoot project I have where it's a 3D web-based tool where you can explore the planets. So that was the starting point. That was the seed that was built. And then I felt that there are lots of astrology software already out there. You put in your information and it generates your charts. So I wanted to do something that goes beyond that. I wanted a tool which can act like a human astrologer, something that can actually go more than just calculations, but that can actually make the predictions for you. So that was the inspiration. Now the product challenge in this case, just to get the scale of the volume, if you actually get into astrology, it may seem like a trivial type of a venture. To become a proper astrologer can take you 6 to 7 years. There are volumes and volumes of books that you need to read and familiarize yourself with. So I'm talking about the volume of data. Just imagine like 5 or 6 Harry Potter novels, and you memorizing them and going through them, and it involves calculations and various rules. So there's a lot of information. Then on the other hand, obviously I'm an engineer by trade. I love data science. So I actually have access to public information of more than 150,000 well-known celebrities and well-known people on this planet. and I've created their charts using my own software. So that is the input as data. So you're talking like 7 or 8 volumes of information. You're talking like more than 150,000 data from people's life. And the life covers various things. So there are lots of events in their lifespan. And then building this core prediction engine using all this information, bringing it together and exposing it as a chatbot. So this is the kind of the product challenge I had to deal with. There were, of course, architectural challenges, and I'm talking about software architecture, that whatever tool that I wanted to build to make, it needs to be scalable. So if I get 50,000 users today and 100,000 tomorrow, 500,000, wishful thinking, but 500,000 by next year, 1 million, 10 million, 50 million, the system should scale. And this is how it ties back to serverless. So obviously, a lot of the underlying backbone of this is serverless. And of course, continuous improvement. You have to keep changing, keep innovating, keep trying things. And your architecture has to adapt to various changes, rapid changes. Like let's say you want to quickly move from AWS to Azure, or you want to quickly move to Google Cloud, or you want to bring the systems on-prem, or things like this. If your architecture is not correct, then it's very hard to make these kind of drastic changes. Then data security and privacy, like today, it's critical, especially in a product like mine, like in Lugna 360, people give a lot of private information. So this has to be guarded like it's gold in Fort Knox. So it has to be very, very secure and tight. And of course, when you come to the UX, it needs to work seamlessly across different front ends, whether you're coming from a web front end, or Android, or iOS, or chatbot, or you happen to be using one of the smart speakers, virtual reality, it doesn't matter, or even your Apple Watch or anything. Like, you should have the same user experience across various channels. So the architectural challenges, I'm just trying to explain how much we have to deal with here. Then that was just the beginning. The real challenges is marketing. And especially for someone like me who's coming from a technical background, you tend to not focus too much on marketing. But there is this saying that in a forest, if a tree falls down and no one is there to see it, then did it fall or did it not fall? Like, I guess what this proverb is trying to say is that no matter what you build, if people don't know you built it, and if nobody's there to use it, it doesn't matter what you built. You could have built the best tool in the world. Without marketing, it's pretty much useless. So marketing covers, content, graphic design, video production, search engine optimization, social media management, advertising, analytics, customer support. There's a lot that goes on in the marketing engine. So this is the kind of overview of the challenges that we're trying to address with AI. And I'm sure other startups also have a similar requirement. Some variations, but this is like a common theme between different startups. So let's get into the AI in the real world, right? So there are specific tools that we want to use to boost efficiency. We want to improve accuracy. We want to enhance user satisfaction. So at least in Lugna 360, I leveraged a bunch of AI tools that I want to share with you. So think of it like a Swiss Army knife, like if you've seen one of those tools, where you can get things. So this is the kind of sidekick you want to build with you. It's like a Swiss Army knife in your pocket, except it's all AI. So let's get into those kind of tools that help us do this. So let's start with the very first tool, coding assistance. So there you go. You have this bright idea, you have an MVP, and you want to build it out. You want to code it. So let's assume there is no AI and it takes a certain amount of time to write your code. And I've been doing this my whole life, and many of you have been as well. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes, back to what I was saying, it takes cognitive load. It's a stress in your brain. So you can only work a certain number of hours in the day. When you're younger, maybe you can work 15 hours. At my age, I can work like 6 hours, 7 hours. You begin to tire after that because of the cognitive load. And it's the same example as the forklift and the person working in the warehouse. So there are a bunch of tools which you must be all familiar with, but I'll just enumerate them anyway. One is Amazon Code Whisperer. There is GitHub Copilot, and there is ChatGPT. And these are very common tools which I have leveraged all the time. So I would say at least 50% of the coding time is spent on these tools. So 50% is a high number. And by the way, if I was watching, interviews from Ilya Sutskever, I can't pronounce his name properly. He's one of the founders of OpenAI. Even in his interview, he has said that he almost 50% of his code is written by ChatGPT. Like he uses AI 50% of the time. So just to give you some context, I have personally experienced about a 25% improvement in my coding efficiency by using these tools. So put it in terms of money, if you were to hire 4 developers, and if you can hire 3 and they can all use some of these coding tools, then you only need to hire 3 developers, not 4. So we're talking about like a 25% reduction in your team size for developers already. Now, second thing is mental energy. So it's about this cognitive load. And I can tell you from my practical experience that if I can code for 6 or 7 hours without any of these tools, with using these tools, I can work for 12 hours. The reason is I can work in bed. I can just hold my laptop. I can have Netflix playing on one tab and I can be coding on another tab. It takes much less cognitive load to do the same amount of work when you're using these AI tools. So I'm now adding to this efficiency. I'm saying instead of 8, you can work 12 hours. So that's a bit of a more thing. The other thing is that these tools help you get rid of a lot of the boring and repetitive tasks in coding. There's a lot of copy paste. There's a lot of Googling, going through Stack Overflow. There are many, many repetitive tasks that you go through. And these are also there. So overall, I would say that if you take all these factors into account, you are actually reducing the requirements by 50%, like you're doubling your efficiency. I would just give an estimate that using these tools, I have personally experienced a 2x multiplier in the coding efficiency. So now let's talk about reliability, automated testing. This is not per se a AI thing. This is something which all developers are aware of. And if you're not a developer, you'll probably have heard about this anyway. Without automated testing, your code is always going to be very flaky. If you want to change fast, develop fast, you need automated testing. The problem is when you are lacking time, when you want to get through stuff done, you would rather focus on your code and sacrifice the automated testing. And so this is where, again, these AI tools come in. ChatGPT, big time. GitHub Copilot, which can easily scan your code and help you write these automated tests. And I've been using a tool called Deep Code AI, which does static code analysis. So again, it helps you find bugs very fast. So again, these things are helping you speed up the discovery of bugs and keep your code in good shape. Not writing all these tests also reduces the fatigue in your brain. Like there's just less cognitive load. Back to that same word again, less cognitive load, less fatigue, you can do more. So the end result I noticed was that, let's say before AI, if I were to work on a project, I'm actually looking at my code half the time now. So I've reduced the amount of time I have my source code open by 50%. It's only because of this automated testing and especially using AI to help write the automated tests. Okay, moving along. Integration testing is slightly different. And if you're a developer, you already know this. But if you're not, this is your testing from the viewpoint of a user. So like in my case, there are many moving parts. You have a front end, you have a middleware, you have a back end, you have AI components, but the user is simply coming to the chatbot and typing something and expecting an answer back. So testing as a user and then automating this test itself can buy you a lot of time. So there are tools out there, well-known tools. I've been using a tool called Selenium, which is nothing to do with AI. It's been there for a long time, except now with access to ChatGPT, it's possible for ChatGPT to write the Selenium tests. So if you actually record your mouse movements over your screen as you are running through your test case in your web, all that is captured as Selenium code, and then feeding that into ChatGPT, it's helped rewrite those tests in a more robust way. So for example, I could log in and as Daniel, but now when I want to run the tests, I don't want to keep running as Daniel all the time. So I can ask ChatGPT, create more realistic user data for me. Give me some more realistic information, create a nice distribution. So it just helps to think like a QA, which again, if you're a developer, you're not very much used to thinking like that. And these tools have helped a lot in that. I would personally say, again, it's reduced my testing time by 40%. Like without a QA, if I had to spend 8 hours, I'm spending only like 3 hours or 2 hours. It's just reducing the amount of time I spend trying to test my own code. It just means that you can develop faster, you can launch faster. Okay, moving along. Marketing content, very important, especially in a business like Lagna 360. It's heavily content oriented. There's a lot of blog posts, a lot of content on Twitter, a lot of Facebook posts. There's a lot of rich content that you have to keep generating. And it has to always keep users engaged through content. This is a very hard task. Like if you've tried to maintain a blog before, you'll realize it takes a lot of cognitive load to write blog posts. But then we're just talking blog posts. What about Facebook content, Twitter content? What about Reddit? Managing Reddit, Quora, managing content on Medium, YouTube content. There's a lot of marketing content. And I'm going to get into this about the various tools used to generate this. But overall, just using ChatGPT, Anthropic Claude, and for marketing content, I have generated my custom agentic workflow. So if you're not familiar with agentic workflows, I will touch upon that a little bit down the chain. So what this has done is actually this has eliminated the need for me to hire or pay for a content writer. So that's straightforward money saving. So we're talking about how a startup is cash strapped. So simply not hiring a content writer is also helping you save money there. So image generation. Now, it's something which is almost magical. Like you've all used DALL-E and you've all used some of the many image generation tools out there. I personally use DALL-E a lot. I use Canva with AI features, and I also use Photoshop with AI features. This has speeded up the workflow tremendously. Any thought you have, like this image you're seeing right now, I just wanted to convey the image of how do I blend something ancient with high tech, with AI. And that's the whole image of the platform that I have anyway. It's all AI and ancient combined. So images like this are very easily generatable. And you just got to keep going. You just got to keep using these tools and enhancing them. Moving along. Google Analytics. Now, AI is a data-hungry beast. It needs data. It needs a lot of data. Google Analytics has a lot of data. So like, as I mentioned, I have 50,000 users at this point, 60,000. And last month, I served more than 1 million chat requests. Like 1 million API calls came. So that's a pretty large volume to handle in a month. Fortunately, all this data is shipped off to Google Analytics, GA4. But this data is pretty much locked inside Google Analytics. How do I extract this data from there? How do I understand it? How do I draw insights from it? And how do I get action items from this? This is where AI comes in. ChatGPT is smart enough to capture. So from Google Analytics, for example, if you export analytics from there and you just feed it to ChatGPT and say, hey, help me analyze this data. Tell me what kind of audience am I having? What kind of audience am I lacking? How do I target this audience or that audience? Or is there any anomalies, like which country has a different type of demographic? This kind of information can easily be extracted from Google Analytics, and AI helps tremendously in leveraging this kind of analytics. And then understanding user behavior helps you design your product better, decides which features you want to add, which features you want to remove, like an infinite number of analytics. So moving along, besides Google Analytics, any product you have your own database as well. So in our case, I have Amazon DynamoDB as the primary database. So how do you get analytics from that? So there is an entire workflow. So I've attached a link here. Again, this is not purely related to AI, but once you start to realize how important data is and how much information you can gather from there and how you can feed that back to your product, you'll realize. So this particular workflow that I use is routinely the data from Amazon DB is exported to Athena database. And there I'm able to run a lot of queries and extract meaningful insights from there. But again, I did not know how to use Athena that well, although I don't know all the technologies. ChatGPT to the rescue. This is again one of those things where just go to ChatGPT and say, hey, this is my architecture, this is my infrastructure, this is how I'm exporting data to Athena. Help me write queries. Tell me what should I do? How should I query this information? And it's helping me. So I get a lot of information from there as well. Okay, moving along, social media. This is now hard because you got to generate content for so many different social media platforms. So how do you do this? I'm using a tool called Pictory, video generator. And I'll show you a demo of this a little bit later. And I'm using also Hootsuite, which is again one of those automated tools to help you schedule your social media posts. It's very important in a consumer-facing SaaS product that you have a regular cadence of when are you posting on Facebook, when are you posting on X, when are you posting on Medium, when are you posting your... If you have this regular rhythm, that's how you get... So you need to actually hire a full-time social media agent, a person who manages your social media. That costs money. And at least so far, I've managed to do without. I actually do need to hire people like this now. But till this point, I have managed to do without that kind of a skill set. Again, using AI. And these are the tools which I've listed out, and I'll show you a demo of how they work just down the road. Okay, so now let me get into a little bit more complex scenario. And I hope the time, I'm 32 minutes into the presentation. Okay, the tools that I described so far are just simple, normal scenarios. I just want to give an example of a typical astrology chatbot interaction, but I will give you an example from a different industry. Let's say you want to build a chatbot which can answer questions on insurance and mortgage. So let's say you're an insurance agent and a mortgage agent, and the user can ask you questions like this. Now, just to assume that these knowledge bases for each of these two zones, insurance and mortgage, are like a Harry Potter novel. They're like 100,000 tokens in AI, you have the input tokens. So imagine a Harry Potter novel full of insurance information and one Harry Potter novel full of mortgage information. So these are all the rules, the processes, the various products you have, a lot of information. Now assume on top of that this information is not static, which means you could jump on page 235 of this mortgage and it'll show you a calculation that on this particular user with this particular type of data, this is how you calculate his mortgage. Or on that page, this is how you decide how much insurance premium he's going to pay. And the user could ask a random question like, hey, if I add a fire and flood rider on my home insurance, how much will my premium go up with? So a question like this needs the entire information inside this manual of insurance, but it also needs to do some real-time calculations. And as you know already, the LLMs, these language models, they are not able to do calculations. You have to do procedural logic to do these calculations. So I had a similar situation in astrology. The problem was of this magnitude. So how did I solve this? So first of all, I had regular conversations with ChatGPT that this is my problem. How do I solve it? Took some time. So again, it's your sidekick. It's a part of your brain. It's there with you. So this is the solution that I came up with along with the help of ChatGPT. And I'm calling this as classification enhanced procedural generation. And I apologize in advance if you're getting a little in detail here. In the beginning, I did say that this is going to be general and we're going to be just talking about tools. But I felt this is valuable because this was a very important problem that I faced, and AI has helped resolve it. So here the essence is that when you make a call, let's say somebody asks you a question, tell me about my career. It's an astrology question. Now you could just send this question off to an LLM, like GPT-4. You could make an API call, and you can say, hey, here is the user's chart. Answer this question. Unfortunately, based on the volume of information, based on the calculations, the chatbot is going to hallucinate. It's going to give you completely wrong information. So the error rate is very high, no matter what you do. So how do you reduce this error rate to 0? And second thing, the context of this size, you have to use one of the expensive models. GPT-4 is expensive, or now the Anthropic Opus, it's a very expensive model. Passing all this context costs you a lot of money. Plus, at the same time, you cannot deal with this hallucination problem because the context is too large. So the solution anyway is, and this problem applies to banking and various industries. You can use it maybe in your industry if you have a very large context window. The idea is you first make an LLM call to a smaller engine, AI engine, and you just say, hey, here is the chat history, and this is the question the user is asking. The user is asking, how much will my insurance increase if I do this? Or the user is asking in astrology, tell me about my future spouse, like when am I going to get married? Something like this. So what this first engine does is it classifies this question. It says, what kind of a question is this? What is the knowledge domain this question belongs to? So back to astrology, is this question related to a person's career? Or is it related to his family? Or is it related to his spiritual well-being? Or, which area of its life it is? So what happened is this entire context that you have, you've now narrowed it down. You've taken only a slice of this context because the first LLM helped you identify the slice. And then the first LLM also tells you that, hey, you want to know, this user wants to know how much his rider will go up. These are the rules around the insurance rider, and these are the calculations you need to perform. It tells you the calculations you need to perform. So in the diagram that I'm showing here, the AWS Lambda makes the call. The LLM comes back with the narrowed down context, and it also comes back with what calculations to run. And then your Lambda can run those calculations. It can, for example, calculate the insurance premium. It can actually calculate some future date where the Mars transit is going to change, and user is likely to have a job in change, coming back to astrology, a change in job. He can identify the transit. So this kind of information is analyzed in the middle. And now you have done the calculations, you have the narrow context. Now you can make a second call to the LLM with a very narrow and targeted context, smaller. Your hallucination rate is now much lower. Like, let's say, for example, instead of 50%, you're now down to like 1 or 2% of hallucination. So this was the kind of solution which ChatGPT helped come up with. And I think this is quite helpful in many of the enterprise projects I do. So I'm trying to now introduce this into some of my enterprise clients as well. So this is that. Okay, so now let's move on to something a little bit more fun. So video content generation. Increased content production speed. You want to produce content faster. What you're seeing here is a talking head. It's myself talking. So you know how you have these presentations, like even this one, where you have your own self talking on the side. Well, it takes a lot of time to prepare these kind of presentations. So I'm going to try and play this. It's only like 20 seconds or so. I hope it's audible. I had this problem before, but let me just see if it works.
Hi, I'm Pankaj. This is a voice recording prepared using a voice clone of myself and generated using TTS. It's pretty good because I don't have to always be speaking at the same quality, the same voice. Sometimes I just want to record myself and use it as a talking head in certain videos.
Okay, so that was just a demo. Now, this kind of technology, which helps you generate a talking head in your own voice, can help you accelerate content generation, I would say 20-fold, because now I can output more and more content. My bottleneck was me having to shave, me having to put on the right clothes, and me in the right speaking mood, which is not now necessary anymore. Like, this quality can be consistent and produced all the time. Okay, moving along.
Hi.
Okay, so now I want to show you another demo of an advertisement that I prepared using various tools. And I'll talk about this advertisement in a bit, but I just want to kind of want you to listen through this to understand what's going on. Then I'll give you the context of this later. So I'll just play it for you now.
Beta, no touching. We don't want to break the vase. Beta, save some cookies for your sister. Alright? Beta, you know the rules, no snacking after 10 p.m.
Introducing Mavo, a neural implant for your child's brain. We surgically implant a high-tech chip, ensuring her voice is always there. Implant Mavo today, let his mother's voice stay in his head forever.
Focus, Beta. Remember, be honest.
Okay, so was that audible, Daniel? I think so, right? Yeah, thumbs up. Thank you. So this was an advertisement I prepared using some of these tools. So I just want to show you exactly what went into this. So first of all, if you just go back 2 years, maybe, or 3 years back, the only way to produce this kind of an advertisement would have been to hire an ad agency. I don't think I had the capability to make this on my own. So what tools were used? First of all, going back to what I mentioned earlier, Google Analytics. It begins with there. I have the user analytics, I have the demographics. I'm asking ChatGPT, I want to prepare a video. Who should I target? How should I prepare this? So with that kind of analysis, it actually analyzed my entire user base, the average age, the kind of people, what kind of chat questions they were asking, and it came up with this kind of a concept. So now that it came up with this concept, said, okay, let's brainstorm different scripts. So now ChatGPT helped me prepare the script for this, exactly word for word, which slide, who's going to say what. Okay, so we have that part in there. Then I needed the imagery. I don't have this imagery. So all the images you saw there were generated by DALL-E, again, ChatGPT, screen by screen, because the workflow that I was using with ChatGPT, it was aware of what I'm trying to do. So it helped me come up with these images. But now these images needed animation. And that's where I used a tool called Runway ML. It's nowadays a very popular tool for image to video. So I got these images animated using Runway ML. And then a tool called Pictory, which what it does is you import all the different video clips that you have, and you just copy paste your script. And it will stitch together these videos and use a AI voice behind the scenes to speak out your script and transition slide to slide. So this was the video generated from there. And then there is another tool called CapCut where you export and use it. Now, this might sound like a lot of work, but you have to remember, like, it's less cognitive load. Back to the same thing again. These are things you can do with honestly, you can lie down in your bed or on your couch, and you can hold your laptop in your hand. You can be watching TV on the other side, and you can be doing these things in the background. It takes your time, it takes your effort, but with very low cognitive load. So that's how this particular ad was generated. So now that we've covered this, I just want to beginning the wrap up with 3 things that I think we can take away from this journey that I experienced with Lagna 360. So the first thing is continuous improvement. You can never become complacent. Technology is changing very fast. No matter what you do, you have to keep changing, keep improving. You cannot have one product and assume that ends everything. And this is unfortunate. This is the world we're getting into. Shelf life of products are very small. Keep improving, keep innovating. Just to give you an example, in the last 1 month, or I would say last 2 months roughly, I have gone from ChatGPT 4 to the OpenAI model GPT-4 to GPT 3.5. I have gone from 3.5 to Haiku. I have gone from Haiku to GPT-4o when it was launched. I've gone from GPT-4o back to Claude 3.5 Sonnet. That's a lot of movement. That's a lot of moving parts. And this has happened, like GPT-4o was launched maybe less than a month ago, and Sonnet was launched 15 days ago. So in this world, like, you got to be changing very fast. That was takeaway 1. Takeaway number 2, you have to understand the gaps in your knowledge. To be honest, all the things that I used ChatGPT with, AI with, these were the things I was somewhat familiar with. Now, there could be stuff that I completely missed because it was in my blind spot. So what I'm getting at is AI cannot help you if you already do not somewhat know what you're trying to do. You have to have some idea of marketing, some idea of coding, some idea of content generation, video generation, advertising. Anything you want to do, you have to have some idea. If you do not know what you do not know, if you have knowledge gaps, AI will not help you. That's the second learning. And the third learning, and this is unfortunate, it did not result in a reduction of hours spent. Unfortunately, I'm spending more hours in front of the computer than I was before. So that's one of the things. And when I'm observing what's happening in the industry, forget about startups, like even in your jobs, if you're a software developer, I feel that instead of 8 hours, if eventually the companies are going to allow you to use all these kind of AI tools, they will also be expecting you to work 10 hours or 12 hours. I cannot see a world where you'll be working only 4 hours and being paid the same amount. And I think the last point I want to leave off with is AI will not take your job. However, somebody else who uses AI is most likely to take your job. So whether it's a startup or whether it's your own job, AI is critical. And this is one of the things that you just cannot live without. Thank you.
Just amazing. Guys, Q&A begins. Thank you, Pankaj.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel.
So who wants to go first?
Awesome. Well, guys, I'm sorry I'm not a very good speaker, but I just wanted to share my journey.
That was an
apologize if I made any
awesome,
mistakes.
awesome presentation. Thank you very much. You did an amazing job on that.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you did great. I enjoyed that. That was so good. Thank you.
Thank you. You made my day. That was a good compliment. He doesn't believe me.
The compliment
I keep telling
made
him
my
for
day.
10 years.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And trust me, I sit through a lot of presentations and that, like, I mean, on this type of stuff. And it's just like, that was the first time, and I've had actually somebody keep my attention the entire time. Like every bit of it. So you did an absolutely fantastic job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's very encouraging. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
Hand raised.
Yeah, Jerry, hi.
Hi. No, I think it was a great presentation. I think it helped me a lot anyway to put it all together. And I was a little confused what the subject was at first until I came in, but now that it was marvelous. Tied together a lot of concepts for me. One question I had as you were going through was, so the thing generates the code, and then it helps you to generate the code and then helps you to test it. How do you know that what you generate is going to be what gets tested, if that makes sense? Like, how does that happen?
Right. Well, there's the easy part of the question. Like, if I could just take your question in two parts. Writing tests that match with the code, that is the easy part. Because let's say you're in an IDE where you have a file open and that's your code. Your chat window in Copilot is in the same window. Just simply typing there, hey, here is my open file. Write me some unit tests for this. It will write you unit tests for what's open for you. So that's the easy part of your question. But I heard a hint of another question in the beginning, which was, how do you know this is generating the right code? It may be writing something wrong completely, which is a very valid question. And this is where I would say your personal experience comes in. It ties into the thing at the end that if you already don't know what you don't know, or like if you don't know something, AI cannot help you with it. You have to have some idea of what you're working with, what you're dealing with. At present, AI is not at the level where it can exceed your own capabilities. It can just reduce your cognitive load in doing the same stuff that you would do anyway.
Right. So
So
in other words, you have to ask it the right questions on what to do. So if you ask it the wrong questions and it goes out of kilter, then you have to define really well what it's going to write up.
You have to ask it the right questions, but you also have to be able to see its answer and know with your experience whether it's giving you the right answer or not.
You all have friends that are bullshitting. You have to see through when they're lying.
Now that you put it that way. Thanks.
Yeah.
Trishma, ladies.
Hi. This was my podcast for my day. It was a very well podcast. Thank you. My question is, how long did this take you to set it up from zero to the end? And did you set it up by yourself, or did you take help of someone else? Like, you had someone to help you set this up?
I see. So just to answer your question, I started on this project about 3 years ago. And so this was before AI, before ChatGPT. In fact, I started writing the code. It's only midway that I switched to using these AI tools. So there was a lot of personal effort in the beginning, followed by AI. The second thing is, there was no setup as per se. What you're seeing right now as a setup is a summary of the various experiences that I went through, and it took almost a year to slowly try one thing, try another thing, and this is what I ended up on. And the last question you had was, did somebody help you? No, this was me experimenting, searching, exploring, and just trying to find something that can help me do the job better.
Thank you. Another follow-up question for that, with the experience you have now, if you want to do the same thing again, how long do you think it would take you?
Oh, that's an excellent question, actually. I think if I went back 3 years and I had the setup and I was beginning from scratch like that, I would do it in about half the time. So I think it's about a 50% efficiency gain overall. So yeah.
Thank you. That's very good to know. It's inspiring. So we can do it too. It's going to take 1 half
No,
year.
absolutely. This is, I mean, everyone can do this. This is.
It's just the time, right? You in your head, you think it's going to take a lot of time, but then when someone gives you a number, you're like, okay, I can target that.
You can save about half your time, but the beauty is it's low cognitive load, which is very important. You don't want, there's only a certain capacity we have in our brains to, work really hard. And if this can make life easy for you, that's how you get it done faster. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see a hand up there, Corey. Yeah.
Corey, you have a hand for a long time.
Okay, yeah, that's no worries. Yeah, so talking about your calculation earlier there, it was quite interesting to hear you talk about the challenges of trying to get the correct answer. And I went through a similar issue with my email AI responder where I was trying to categorize the emails based on whether it's related to sales and I had to respond to a quote, or whether it's related to orders, or if it's related to some other category. I had about 5 to 10 categories. And I noticed that if I gave it 10 categories, it wouldn't answer properly. And then I gave it 5 categories, thinking that that's going to make it simpler. And that still didn't work. And then I had to figure out that, oh, you know what? The only way I'm going to be able to do this is if I can isolate one category at a time by asking the AI about 10 to 15 questions. And they were binary questions. And I don't know if you ever tried that or not, but what I realized, though, and I was going to ask you, is that, I guess just to summarize, because I'm getting long-winded, is how did you end up getting those calculations answered, and how did you guys end up doing it? That's basically like I ended up getting my answers, but it was like a long-winded. I had to do a lot of question asking in order to get the final answer.
Oh, I see. Well, definitely there was a lot of experimentation involved in the whole process. But when I was referring to calculations, I was talking more directly that let's say a user asks, hey, when in the next 5 years am I likely to start a business? Like there's just some astrological questions users ask. So bot knows that it'll happen when the Mars transits from there to there, or when Saturn becomes retrograde or something like this. Now, this is a big calculations. You need to do an astronomical calculation to figure out when will Saturn become retrograde. These bots hallucinate. They will just throw a number out there saying very confidently, yes, Saturn will become retrograde on this particular month. And that's completely wrong answer. So you have to actually curtail it, bring its creativity down to zero, and literally say, look, when you want to know the transit, just tell me you want the transit, and I'm going to give it to you. Don't even don't even like try to come up with the transit. So it's a multi-step process. That's how we were able to solve it.
Yeah. So you're doing something similar to what I was doing, was having to simplify your questions instead of asking a really broad question where you could have 5 or 20 different ways to say the same thing. you ended up trying to say, hey, yes or no, binary question or something to that like
Yeah.
to get your answers. And that's what I did with my email responder. And it takes a lot of work actually out of you because you sit there and you're like, okay, now I got to drop 10 binary questions to get the thing to respond 100%. Because I don't have mine hallucinating at all, but it was when I didn't create those binary questions to tie, like the simplified questions, like to tie with the answers. And yeah, that's where I was thinking there. Like you can't throw at it 200 lines of code. It's gonna hallucinate, and you can't.
Oh, I was
even for
talking
the
about almost 100,000 tokens of context. It's almost like giving it an entire Harry Potter novel. So
Yeah.
obviously it's going to hallucinate at that point. But
Yeah.
I forgot to mention one thing in the presentation, that not only did this solve the hallucination, but also I was able to get the job done with a cheaper model. So for example, in Anthropic, instead of using Opus, I'm able to do it using their Haiku model, which is one of their cheaper models. So there was this monetary advantage as well on top of that.
Nice.
I
Taz.
want
Go, sorry.
I was gonna say, I wonder how long that would take on my 8 billion parameter Llama 3 model to do
Yeah.
100,000. I don't even know if that could be possible or not there, honestly, to tell you the truth. You're throwing in 100,000 tokens all
Yeah.
at once, and how long is that process taking?
Oh, it takes the answer comes back in about 10 to 15 seconds after the enhancements today. So yeah.
Wow.
You
Well,
can't
that's
do this
pretty
in your
impressive.
local LLM. This local LLM will be for a different type of use case. So yeah.
I'm looking at hundreds of tokens. I
Yeah,
don't even
yeah.
think I'm coming close. I'm looking at hundreds of tokens, and I probably can get a 15 to 30-second answer on well, it shouldn't be that long. I shouldn't say that. But at
Yeah.
100 tokens, it's probably about a 5-second answer for me on a local LLM. So to say that you can do 100,000 in your 10 to 15 seconds, that's about, what is that? Like
Awesome.
almost 100 times
Yeah, well,
faster.
well, thanks for your question, Corey.
Oh, so Taz,
So-
you have a next question.
Hi, Pankaj. I have a question about security. You mentioned on your platform that you had to lock it down like Fort Knox. What was your approach to doing that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
You mentioned that for your platform, you take a lot of private information.
Correct.
So you mentioned you had to create like Fort Knox to lock it down, make sure nothing leaks out.
Yes.
How did you approach that?
Oh, there are actually multiple best practices you follow. So let me give you some context. The client base is global, first of all. So there are customers from India, there are customers from US, there are customers from Canada. None of the Canadian customers want their data in a US data center. None of the Indian customers want it in a US data center. US only wants it in a US data center. So there is segmentation based on the geography of the user. And then there are safeguards on how the AWS account is set up to begin with. Because if you don't set up your account correctly, developers, like the rule of thumb is I should not be able to see your data. Even if I go into the database through the AWS console, I should not be able to see it. So you follow all the practices, whichever AWS follows. These are just best practices. The thing is, if I'm not aware of these practices, ChatGPT helped me. It held my hand as I walked through and learned these processes. So to answer your question in short, double encryption. The database is encrypted as a whole, but each row is encrypted by each user's individual key as well. So every user can access only their data, and whereas the entire database is also encrypted. So that's the simplest way I could put it. Like it's a double encryption.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I have a hand up there from Jerry. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, you were talking about the splitting up and having to do the calculations. I was wondering, did you do that with a semantic router, or did you think about that? Like, I was looking into that a little while ago, how semantic routers work that would break down before you send it to the LLM. And like, for instance, you can send it to different LLMs based on what the question is.
Right.
And and you can actually, what I was trying to do on one project was do what you said. Like if it was a certain question, you could do the calculation first, route it, and then come back and do the next step.
Right. So if I understood correctly, then you are kind of answering correctly. Like that is roughly what the solution was.
Okay.
Instead of one big one shot, they call it one shot learning. Like, so instead of a one shot call to the LLM, you make a multi-shot call. You think through the problem in a different way. You say, okay, first let's classify it. Let's understand what exactly the user is asking. What do I need to answer that question? Let's prepare that information. Let's fetch it. Let's do those calculations beforehand. Let's package all this information and then make a one-shot call to the LLM. So it's a multi-step workflow on how to answer these very complicated questions. I hope that was what you were alluding to. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, the thing that I was talking about was a little more generic. Like you could actually do the calculations before you even send it to the LLM, but yeah, basically the same idea. So you had to add 3 numbers together. You could do that and then send it to the LLM, and that would solve your.
Correct. No, absolutely. That's exactly what happened. So all the calculations.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they were done in because I have access to the calculations for astronomical data, figuring out transits and things like that. LLM can, there's no way LLM can do.
I got it. Okay, so I did. Yeah. So I did understand it. You didn't actually send it to the LLM to do it. You actually did it.
No.
Only your own code did it and then send it off to the LLM when you needed to send it off. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So literally the first LLM would tell me that I need these calculation 1, calculation 2, calculation 3. The LLM would tell me I need these 3 things. Then I would do the calculations within my own Lambda code, prepare the context, and then make the actual LLM call. So it was done locally, all the calculations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry.
We don't see any raised hands. Questions? Okay, well, you're getting encouraged to ask. I have one about custom agentic flow. You mentioned in one of the slides, but you didn't go into details. What were you using?
Right. So there, Daniel, that was, I touched upon that during the marketing. So what happens is, and this is not fully ready, so I'm going to launch this, but it's a work in progress. And I'm close to launching it. The idea here is, I want to maintain a blog, right? That's my challenge. And I want to post content regularly. Let's say once a week, I want to just post a blog. But also I want to respond to comments that people are posting. So the idea here is that I have a agent. And so when I say agent, let me simplify. I have a cron job running in AWS, which wakes up every hour or every 2 hours or whatever schedule. And when it wakes up, it's immediately aware of all the blog posts that you have made till that point and what comments people have asked till that point. And it makes a judgment. What should I do? Should I answer this comment? Should I write another blog post? It's thinking. So it's saying, hey, it's only 3 days since my last blog post. So, okay, maybe I don't want to write a blog post right now, but maybe I should monitor the comments. If it finds no action, it goes back to sleep. But then it wakes up again and it says, okay, it's time to write a blog post. So what do I need? I have already written these blog posts. What is the most logical blog post? Which one had the most likes? Let me write something similar. And so it starts to think for you and decides what the next blog post you should write about. And then you come into the regular flow. It's able to call other agents which say, hey, write me a blog post about this. So one agent is writing the blog post, one agent is thinking about what to write. And then, of course, when the answer comes back, the master controller agent is seeing the answer and saying, no, this blog post is not correct. Can you just write it again? This is missing. So it's doing what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
So
what
I'm preparing
with?
Yeah.
Is it Crew AI, AutoGen?
No, not of these. So the tools, Crew AI and AutoGen, I don't want to use anything in my laptop. I need these things running on serverless. So I find the flow writing my own custom with AWS Lambdas, running with kind of a cron, and then calling AWS Bedrock. I find that workflow a little bit easier for me to manage on a serverless side. If the need arises to use Crew AI or some of these, I might have to then do that. But right now, I'm able to manage it without using these tools.
Cool. Very nice.
Yeah.
Any other questions, folks? Maybe, I don't know, like you keep talking about the asking prompting. Do you maybe have a library of prompts or some, like, do you remember, like, behind those pictures, what did you ask him specifically to generate, to save those notes?
Oh, I see those prompts. I don't think any of those are saved at this point. This is a hit and trial. You keep working until you get what you want. I guess it goes back to what I was saying, that it definitely takes time. Like something which I would have been able to do in 8 hours now takes me 12 hours, but I'm able to produce 3 times, 4 times the amount of work. My efficiency is a lot higher, the output is a lot higher, but I'm also putting in more hours, and which includes a lot of the time spent in preparing prompts and things like that, you know.
You know, I remember now, like in presentation, you never mentioned Gemini, but you are the reason I'm paying for Gemini subscription. So why did you give up?
Well, if this is coming under a recording, I don't want to say anything
Okay.
bad against Gemini.
Was it expensive for you? Or
Yeah,
did you
it was. I found it a little bit too much sandboxed, a little bit too restrictive.
And you're talking about the your chat, like Gemini app, the paid one, not about the API.
No, not about the API. I have not personally used the Gemini API, but my experience was with using the online tool that I had access to. And I found that behaving too much like a parent, or in like too much guardrails on it. So I found it a little bothersome.
Okay. I'm still paying, but because I get 2 terabytes of storage with it, and I ran out of space for my picture. So I have the same feelings. Any other question, guys? Like this meeting was scheduled for 1 hour and a half. Like we can do mining Raffle soon if you don't have any questions. Anything in the chat or go ahead.
I do have one other question. Sorry, I had lots of questions. But the Chat GPT, what version are you using?
Oh, for the browser one, when I say Chat GPT, I'm simply talking about the paid version of Chat GPT, which you have access to. But if you're talking about the OpenAI APIs, then of course there are many of them. Like I've been using 3.5 GPT, GPT-4, and GPT-4o. These 3.
Just the browser one. So you're using the paid version of the Chat GPT?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm paying for that. I'm paying for Anthropic. Like I'm paying a lot for these different tools.
Right.
Do you see the difference in Anthropic's paid versus non-paid version? Like for me, it's too verbose. It's like I'm not into writing, creative writing. So.
Well, the only reason I'm paying for it is because, at least from the API side, I'm finding using Anthropic very valuable for the API parts.
I'm talking about the Claude.ai $30 one.
Yeah. No, I find it good. I mean, I'm just doing a comparison. Sometimes I ask the same question in 2 places, GPT and Anthropic, and just to see which answer is better.
Oh, guys, keep talking. I'm looking for Google Forms, and you do this bit.ly/SLSTO
Oh, I
survey.
see. Yeah.
Any other questions while I look for the forms and names?
I see a link from here. Please do a survey. It's from Daniel.
That's for me, so you can do that. I don't know, like if people are interested to see the backend. I was quite impressed with your React UI, but this is.
It's I tried to keep it very low. Like if I get into that, it's again a whole presentation. This just demoing the product itself will take an entire hour.
Okay.
If you just go through all the features one by one and walk through the UX. This is where I think one person was a UX designer here. I mean, I'd be ashamed to present in front of that guy.
So polite. Any other questions, guys? Feel free. Turn on the mics, cameras, and Pankaj, then feel free to. What else would you like to share with the folks? Something that's not in the slides, anything recent, while I do.
No, I mean, guys, this has been like a very interesting journey for me to make this. It's taken a lot of time. You cannot do it, any such idea, unless you're really interested in what you're doing. I mean, just thinking that, hey, I'm going to do this and make some money is not the right motivation. You really have to be interested in this. And I guess the feedback from the market is tremendous. When you see, because I didn't mention that all the chat transcripts that are generated, they themselves are fed into another AI, which is doing an analysis of the chat to give me an idea about the sentiment and give me an idea about which questions are answered correctly and not. So there is like AI analyzing the AI, analyzing the AI. Like there's a bit of that flow going on as well, and it's unbelievable. But some of the way, like I'm very bad person. Like when I talk to a chatbot, I can swear, I can ask very blunt questions. People are saying thank you. They're saying please. They're saying I appreciate what you are. Like that, it's like they're talking to a human, which makes you feel that the product that you've built is very human-like. So this is like very good feedback you get from the market when people are saying please and thank you to a chatbot. Just something I wanted to share. It makes you feel nice.
I've noticed that too, that we're becoming better communicators. Go ahead.
I was going to say I do that because I don't want it to turn into Terminator on me eventually. I want it to remember that I said my please and thank you, mom and dad, and so that they don't come after me one day and think that we're all bad people.
Yeah.
Corey,
although there's probably people on that other end, that love swearing.
Corey, there was a research. If you ask it nicely, it'll tell it how it's important for you that it's going to generate certain percentage like better answers.
Yeah.
There is probability. So.
But one thing I observed, like I've been trying to do this chatbot stuff even 3 years ago in a different conversational AI type of thing. The idea didn't fly at that time. People were very hesitant to talk to chatbots. What I'm seeing today is people talk to chatbots more readily than they would talk to another human.
Because they were dumb, and I would always, I used to be IVR developer, so you just don't want to waste time. No, this is different.
People ask very complicated questions, very, very complicated questions.
And the weird thing is that it comes up with an intellectual answer, and you feel like you just talk to the smartest person you know after you have a conversation with it about some deep questions. But it always, has a good answer for anything you want to know. And I don't know why though. The only thing that it feels like the downer is that it just feels so artificial, but you feel so good inside that you're like, yeah, I knew I was that smart when I was gonna ask it that question. And when I walked away, I felt smarter, but then I was like, yeah, I know, but it feels artificial. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sharing. Nikhil, you turned on the camera. You want to say something?
I'm good. Okay. Yeah, I'm good.
Can you see my screen? Mining Publications Raffle.
Yeah, Daniel, go ahead.
Only one of you is gonna win any of their digital products. So no print products and no bundles. But the rest of you can scan this barcode. This is going to take you to their website with 45% off. So I don't have many names. You have really good odds today. This is who I pasted from this group. Anybody else wants their name inside? I don't see any names. So are you ready, guys, for a spin? Okay, I'll say that's yes. Michael, Corey. That's awesome, Corey. You deserve it. Lots of questions that you asked. So, Corey, please paste your email in this chat. I will introduce you to the Manning folks, and then they will be able to move any of the digital products they have or video courses into your Manning account. So that's it from me for now. Should we stay or go? Like I don't care. My wife and daughter are shopping.
Well,
You didn't use AI to win, did you, Corey?
I wish I could over there. If I could do it in a second, I would try to cheat my way every way I can. I mean, I technically threw up a video on my LinkedIn today there where I was like, hey, I hate emailing and I hate looking for a job and sending out a million resumes. So I built well, I haven't built the big one yet, but I built a smaller version where it's saving me a lot of time. I just highlight your email on the web page and then right click and then in the once I right click and click copy, then I can hit the email button right away and it automatically sends a template. So yeah, whatever way I can kind of win, I'll take it. I didn't even see myself winning this at all. I was trying to actually scan the barcode at the time that you said I won. I was like, oh, I won.
No, you can still use the discount. They will keep this coupon for a year. So anytime you feel like you want the book cheaper, just use that coupon code. It will be in the recording when I post it to YouTube in about a week time.
Okay,
So this is awesome. So, but guys, like, just to Pankaj makes it sound easy. He spent 3 years on this. He's really smart. Like, I know him for years. So systems thinker, many angles, many problems domain. I think slide at the end where you said that if you don't know something, that's your gap. Yeah, I will not be able to help you with that. That's important to me.
Yeah. If I could say something there, I've only been at this for 3 months approximately, and such a revolution. I feel like teaching what I know and how I actually got to where I am there from the basic computer skills. I never really played much video games, but I did have experience with DOS and Windows 3.1 when I was a little kid. So I think that kind of helped me because I knew how to use DOS and was still surprised you guys are still using DOS here 30 years later. I assumed everybody was gonna evolve out of DOS somehow one day, and I thought that already happened 15 years ago, but nope, I'm still here. So I had to go back down that path
awesome.
and learn all over again what the commands were and all other stuff. But I remembered them from way back when there, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this CD space da 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 dir, all those little commands to start over. But yeah, it was a fun journey so far, and pretty happy with where I'm at.
Enjoy it. I have a question for Dave. Dave, thank you for sharing your number, offering work. What do you do? Can you introduce yourself? I don't remember we met before. Yeah.
Oh, okay. My name's Dave Sandberg. My company is called Data Mines. I've got a background in tech. I do kind of started out doing business development. Then I started a database marketing company back in 2003 and set up the data center infrastructure and had some really good SQL programmers working with me and whatnot, and just evolved things and into predictive modeling and analytics, and which kind of led me into the whole generative AI aspect of things. And when I saw that when ChatGPT was released and I stumbled across it, I was just like, wow. And I could see that there was going to be quite a change in what was happening. So now my focus is getting projects, and I'm really glad that I came to this, because this is the first time I've come to one of these events that you guys have had. And I'm definitely looking for resources for projects that I'm going to be looking for. And I think that, there's so many talented and great people on this group that I feel very blessed, actually, that I've come across everybody. So I'll reach out to everybody, and feel free to reach out to me too.
Likewise. We have
Yeah,
a
because I
Slack
know
channel.
that one of the challenges for tech, and I've been looking at a lot of different types of tech as well to support the AI stuff, and right from things like getting the data in and that, and building the files and stuff, to chatbots, and there's a very young group of people, and it's really interesting to see the diversity of it all. But one of the challenges, I think, for any tech group is the business development aspect of it. So that's kind of where I am. I'm very technical, but I love doing the business development.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I will paste the link to the Slack. I think it works. We are rarely there, but
Okay.
at least you can reach us. And we used to have like helping one another, but then COVID came and everybody got jobs. So now we may revive more helping one another, look
Yeah.
for work and offer
Okay.
work. Oh, site cannot be reached. I don't know. I'll send an invite up.
Okay.
You can
Yeah,
do
that would be great if you could. Thank you.
So
Yeah, I just recently logged back into that serverless Toronto Slack. It was, I know, which is blast from the past. Good to see.
yeah, we're not very active, but I sometimes post there, like it's not real. And then you can also message everybody through the meetup.com platform. So whoever
Okay.
registered probably has an email there.
Mhm.
Not the best platform, but a way to look. Help
Yeah.
one another.
Fantastic.
Dave, could you share LinkedIn again? I probably missed it in the chat. I don't see it.
I didn't put one in there, but I'll copy one in right now. So anybody that wants to just send me a connection, please do.
Cool.
Let me just find my LinkedIn profile. Back into LinkedIn. There we go. Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm in Burlington, and I joined this. There's a group called Hull Tech at this place called the Tech Center. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but it's now part of the Innovation Factory, and it's an amazing place to meet people. There's a lot of people that are working on stuff, and then McMaster University's got a big innovation factory there as well, and it's just a really good place to connect with people, and there's a lot of activity happening with AI and that. So definitely something to look into. It's all free, and it's supported by the Economic Development Commission.
Nice.
Yeah.
Toronto has
Good to
something
hear.
called Mars Discovery District.
Yeah.
Because there are these startup skills that most of us don't have. So Pankaj learned them hard way through all his startups. So that's something
Mars in
good
Toronto.
to
Yeah.
attend. And then if you have $1,000 US, like I was member for 2 years of something called Section 4. It was what was the name? Scott Galloway, professor from NYC. He has this as a side business, and they call it mini MBA. So he's teaching you marketing, sales, and other business skills that we don't have. I think you are able to negotiate that for around $500 US. So I just cancel after 2 years because it's only so much I can consume. It's like a gym I go to, but it's a good place to spend at least a year. Any other tips, Pankaj? Any other places for people to pick up entrepreneurial skills?
No, it's just ongoing search, I guess. Yeah.
There's a lot of things in Philly where I live that they have a decent lot of venture people. There's a lot of biotech and also computer and IT stuff. There's a big hub here, which I think that's how I might have gotten through here, is through venture. There might have been a venture capital newsletter. Might have been how I got it instead of LinkedIn
I'm
or
flattered
Meetup.
that they mention us. So I'm pasting the links for Mars Discovery District. I don't know now, but back in 2019, they have a really inexpensive training, like fraction of what I mentioned for. So, and it was through COVID and before, so they don't check if you're Canadian, I think. So what else? It's getting quiet.
You
Should
won't
we
let me
stay or
get,
should we go?
you won't let me get into the
I
Slack
wanted to,
site for some reason.
yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't hear that.
Sorry there. Go ahead, Jerry.
I said it just doesn't seem to be let me into the Slack site.
I messed up, so I'm in Slack looking for that. You guys keep talking.
Oh, sorry.
I think, oh yeah, that's a good question. I didn't get into it either. I clicked on it, but it didn't work. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I was gonna go back to Pankaj there. Your idea of that's a pretty grand concept of what you're talking about there with the planetary movements of the stars
Oh
in the
yeah.
sky. And that is, I see, something else I noticed about you too is that you got the background as I think that's Star Trek Voyager, if I'm correct.
No,
Did I nail
that's
it?
the original
Did I
Star
get the
Trek.
right?
Yeah.
Did I get the right starship there in the background? I think I did, eh? Or
Yeah,
that could be the Enterprise E, but I doubt it. I think it's
that is the
Voyager.
Enterprise. Yeah,
Is that the Enterprise? Okay, yeah. I watch a lot of Star Trek too.
I
I
know.
love Star Trek, but
That's
what
how
do you
you can
got there?
tell I'm a geek. Yeah.
Well, I think
That's
I'm
yeah.
in that same boat.
That's the
I'm a
original.
trucker.
Yeah,
I gotta play best of both worlds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
go ahead.
Canadian William Shatner series. I think the first one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's probably like I don't know there how like if you're a big next generation fan. I was a Voyager fan. Like
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
got me into Star Trek. Actually, was Voyager.
I think that's the second thing you said today. Like I think the first thing you said about like Windows 3.1, I completely relate to that. Like I think I spent a bunch of my childhood in Windows 3.1, and then again Voyager was when I was in like just starting college and like late high school. So yeah, it
Yeah,
was. I mean that was. I mean obviously the next generation was when I was a kid, and then it was like before my time in it. But now it's there. The Voyager was right up my alley.
yeah. Well, I think Voyager had the best storyline out of all the what do you call it there?
Right.
Different series out there so far.
True.
Yeah, it still holds it to me. And I like the idea of traveling to different worlds every time you have a new show on, and they're always going someplace new. It never was the same place ever.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and I'm a
next
trucker,
time
so
there's a next presentation, I'll be in a different ship at that time. So
yeah, you can dress up, eh? You can have the whole
yeah.
uniform on next time there and dress up as captain or whatever you want to dress up as.
Picard.
Picard. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the bald head for it.
I know.
Oh,
There
perfect.
you go. You could get you could look pretty good there in a Picard look there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Well,
pull it off.
yeah. Well, one of you guys speak next. That's when I'll be Picard. Yeah.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Interesting.
So throw the ideas for upcoming talks. Anything you want to demo, that would be good. So I was go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say I posted another Slack site that's connected to a group on LinkedIn. It's basic AI ecosystem.slack.com.
Where
It's in the
chat.
it's in the
chat,
chat. You guys might know them. AI ecosystem, but
I see. It's not real URL, so it's not blue.
yeah, it's a
Okay.
Slack thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I got
see.
into the serverless Slack. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. We are not very active, so if you need to reach me, go to LinkedIn or even meetup.com. But it's a place where you can post jobs, ask for work.
Cool.
And what else?
I guess like to talk about projects and ideas. Like one of the ideas that I'm working on is an AI that can operate your computer but based on a chat prompt and do everything. I think it's possible already. I just don't know how to. I'm trying to, like it's trial and error every step of the way. And I got like to the point where I was like able to open a program based on a chat prompt,
I think
and
Microsoft
that's
has
where I
that.
got to.
Microsoft might have it. Like I never used those tools, but they must exist, some copilots or something such for that.
Actually, this is what Apple has announced, right? Their next
I don't know.
series is going to be completely what you're describing. It has access to
So
all the
lots
local
of these
operations.
use cases are going to die. So I know when it started, I was looking at talking to database with SQL. Now you go to BigQuery console, they call it Studio. You just ask the question, natural language. You go to Databricks console, you ask the question. It's quite good. Chat GPT like hallucinates a little bit because it's trained by all the data, but they're getting better and better. So lots of these use cases are going to go away. What I'm thinking, if you are kind of just getting into programming and you would not know when AI is lying to you, there are low-code tools like VoiceFlow that used to be Pankaj's competitor from his last startup. So now they're kind of one of low-coding tools for building AI and conversational AI apps. And then there was a BotPress, another one. And there is just Google AI agency. You Google word AI agency, there is a bunch of these coaches, like half a dozen of those. There are two with the name Liam. Like I even pay those guys, like so you can pick up something a little bit from everybody. So
That makes sense. Yeah, well, I've been trying to find like lately actually there because I've been looking for a job. I've been doing every kind of tool that relates to finding a job, and the hardest part, in my opinion, is finding an email address for that particular contact for that job. Either they want you to fill out a form, which takes forever, which I don't want to do. I really just want to just upload or automatically send my email off with my template and my my resume inside, and then that's my route. But I don't know how to get the AI, and I don't think ChatGPT or any of these AIs are ever going to come around unless they're private, where they'll scrape the web and find those jobs for you and those email addresses for you. I don't know any of them that are doing that at all, at least right now, unless somebody knows.
I'm
Personally.
using this. I'm using this tool now called Teal, Teal, and
Okay.
it will.
Can you paste it in the chat?
Yeah.
paste it in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
I think I heard of a tool, Browserless or something, but it's $200 US dollars a month. So if you go to Crew AI, a website, they are kind of agentic framework. They have lots of cool tools that require subscription or a semi-free require a key. So for scraping, searching. So I think Browserless, they are the best. Like probably banks use them to kind of get to your two-way authentication to log in and scrape the sites.
Yeah, I've tried Crew AI, and because of my experience with it there, because I'm new, right? So when I attempted at the beginning, I was always struggling with Crew AI and LangChain. Both had deprecated packages when you use their when you're trying to install them in the virtual environment. And I'm brand new to the virtual environment, and I didn't even realize like a month ago that there's different versions of virtual environment. There's like 3.1, 3.9, 3.8, 3.6, and then there's 3.12 and 3.14, I think, right now for Python's virtual environments.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't include the conda environments that you get from Linux. And then you got all those the complication of the packages, which one works with what, like UV loop I kept on struggling with. That was a package that was in LangChain that was connected to another package called Pydantic, which was also connected to LangChain Community, which is another package. All those three packages conflicted with Microsoft Windows every time I tried to install them. That I took 2 full days trying to figure out why, and then after I gave up, and then 2 weeks later, I think I figured it out was the Python version I was using was 3.12 and 3.11, and I think I needed to use 3.14 3.9. I think that was the solution,
Wow,
but
okay.
I couldn't go to 3.8 or 3.7. I had to go 3.9 in the middle, and I got through. But then after all that too, I realized that a deprecated package doesn't mean it doesn't work. I thought that that's what it meant, and every time I ran the script, I didn't realize that I could have wrote another piece of code in there that says ignore the error and continue running the script.
Yeah.
And that would have been my solution. And stupid, yeah. Well,
It's generally some functions that don't work. I mean that level of DevOps is like a necessary thing, and it's a minefield really. Like, and you
Yeah.
and it just compounds. It's sad, but like it's mostly built for Linux. But then I mean they say most of these web pages that if you have a Windows machine, you need to do these steps to work on that. I mean don't get me started on like the Apple M1 chips and M2 chips and the Intel chips before. I mean that is a whole different ball game. Like yeah. So that it's just a big minefield.
Yeah.
Uh,
But that's true. I mean, it's all every time you try to build something, it's like,
True.
oh, by the way, you don't have this version. You need to update this version, which has nothing to do with what you're doing now. And then you go end up, and that's why they have, I forget what they call it in Python.
Package managers, yeah.
Package.lock.
Package manager, yeah.
Yeah,
You lock those
that's
packages,
why
yeah.
if you see that, Corey, that's what that's all about. When you finally develop it, it locks all those different versions together, and then oh, okay, I've got something that's actually going to work.
Pip.lock
Yeah.
or anything, yeah, that kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I sort of got it there. I got some of the apps down to production level where they were executables. I created a WhatsApp extension. I didn't even tell you guys, that can mass text using WhatsApp on my desktop computer, so I didn't have to text 100 people in the morning to say, "Hey, do you have a load there that I could haul?" And I just basically got WhatsApp to automate that way. And I finished it right to the production stage where I was able to get the exe file. That's a big task too, at the very end, after you got the program.
Yeah.
Daniel, sorry, one moment. I think I have to drop off, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I do
Same
too,
here.
actually. I've
Thanks
got to
for
go take my
tolerating
dog
me,
for a walk.
listening to me all this time.
No, it was a
That was
good
Daniel,
great.
I'm a co-host, so I don't know if the meeting will abruptly end when I go, but it shouldn't.
I don't know. Look,
Yeah.
if it
Very
does,
informative.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Pankaj. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Please carry on.
Thanks, Pankaj.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care.
Ciao.
Take
I
care.
have to leave too, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for the invite and that, and I really enjoyed it. So I will definitely be back and looking forward to
Guys.
chatting with everybody again.
Yeah. Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Thanks, guys.